Ve'ele Shemot Bnei Israel. We start now in this week. We just started the second book of the Torah, Exodus, which discusses the exile of the Jewish people. But within the exile, we find here the birth of the leader that is going to be the Redeemer of Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is born, and eventually we see that Moshe Rabbeinu has very, very special qualities. Why does he have special qualities? And what does it mean? Why did the parents of Moshe Rabbeinu merit such a child? We find that there are two women which are the ones which orchestrated basically the redemption of Am Yisrael, as it says, "B'schut nashim tzadkaniyot yatzanu mimitzrayim." In the merit of women which are righteous women, we merited to go out of Egypt. Men at that time, because of the slavery and because of the oppression, did not want to have children. Who wants to have children in a situation that you see every day people are dying and they're being enslaved? Babies are being used as bricks in order to build pyramids and buildings, and in order for Pharaoh to bathe in their blood. So who wants to be having children in such a situation? At this moment, there's a decree on the boys. Pharaoh says, I'm going to make a decree. My sorcerers, my astrologists see that in the future that the Redeemer of Am Yisrael is going to be a boy. And therefore, I'm going to make a decree on all Jewish boys. What happens? Amram, the leader of the generation, separates from his wife. He separates from his wife. Everybody separates from their wives. And at that moment, suddenly there are no more children. Comes Miriam, the daughter of Amram, and says to him, Daddy, you're worse than Pharaoh. Pharaoh made a decree on the boys. You're making a decree on the girls as well. And who knows? You don't know exactly who could be born. What happens is that at 130, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the same miracle he made for Sarah, he made for Yocheved. And indeed, she had children. What was that child? Moshe Rabbeinu himself, the leader of Am Yisrael. So we see here that from the Mesirut Nefesh of a sister, of a younger sister, that's how the leader of Am Yisrael was born. Eventually what happens is that they were the ones that saved all these babies and encouraged the mothers to have children and the fathers to have children. Am Yisrael is multiplying, and this is at the moment that there is a great anti-Semitism that starts. How do you define anti-Semitism? What is the first time we see anti-Semitism? It's in this week's parasha. How do you have, it says, Vayakom melech chadash asher lo yada et Yosef. There's a new king that rised, that did not know Yosef. So there's two opinions, the opinion of Rav and the opinion of Shmuel in the Gemara. One opinion says that he was a new king. The other opinion says, no, it was the same king, but Yithatshu Gzerotav, he made new decrees of oppression over the Jewish people. What do you mean? Even if you're a new king, you never heard of Yosef. How could you treat the Jewish people in such a with such horrible atrocities? So to this, what happened? The Jewish people said, Ve'ine, ki yavo alenu milchama. When there's going to be a war, who do you think the Jews are going to stand by? They're going to stand by us, or they're going to stand by the enemy? That little doubt that already depicts the Jew with the long nose, with the whole caricature of a Jew which is associated to the enemy, brings a doubt in the head of Pharaoh. And that's how anti-Semitism all started. Basically, the Jewish people are not there for us. They're there for them. So whatever is going to be good for them, that's what they're going to do, which is not true. We know that at the time of the temple, 70 bulls were offered for the 70 nations of the world in order to bring them that they should be prosperous. And the Talmud says that if they would have only known that, they would never have destroyed the temple. Moshe Rabbeinu sees Ish Ivri Makeh, Ish Mitzri Makeh Ish Ivri. He sees an Egyptian man whipping and wanted to kill a Jewish man. It says, Vayfen Kovako, Vayaki and Ish. He saw in the next generations that there was nobody coming out of this non-Jewish Egyptian. So he decided to kill him. How did he kill him? With the name of Hashem. And at that moment, right away, there was a decree because Lashon Hara was spread by Datan and Aviram, two Jews. They're the ones that said, you know what Moshe Rabbeinu did? He killed an Egyptian. So right away, there was a warrant of arrest that he should be sentenced to death. He has to run to Midian. What does Rashi say exactly? When Moshe Rabbeinu went out, Moshe Rabbeinu grew up as an adopted child in the house of Pharaoh. Moshe Rabbeinu could have had the best life. But when he went out, even with all the riches and all the great connections he had, Vayar besivlotam, he saw and he empathized with the suffering of Am Yisrael. Rashi says, Natan enav velibo liot metzar alehem. He put his eyes and his heart to feel. Some people see with the eyes, but they swipe to the next page. And other people, they feel the pain. They're sensitive to what's happening with another person, especially with a fellow Jew. Eventually he runs away to Midian and he becomes a shepherd of Yitro. The Ma'or Vashem asks a question. He says, how is it possible Moshe Rabbeinu, such a great figure, such a great leader, starts his life as a shepherd? We see that Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David HaMelech, all shepherds. What is this job of being a shepherd? Why is that so important? And he answers that a shepherd has the mind which is always clear to think and be connected to God. And he works only with his hands, as it says in the Mishnah, Yagia kapecha ki tochel ashchecha vetov lach, ashtecha ba'olam hazeh vetov lach le'olam haba. When you work with your hands and you don't put your head to be blocked in the physical things of this world, then you're able to connect to God. But what's more importantly, what made the decision that God chose Moshe Rabbeinu to be that leader is the fact that when he saw a sheep was too weak and was going away, straying away from the flock, he took that sheep on his own shoulders and gave it to drink. And when God saw this, he says, you are taking care of a sheep as if it was your own. You want to make sure that the sheep doesn't suffer. You have pity for the animals. If you have pity for the animals, you will be the leader of my people. We know what the Gemara in Brachot says, and what the Gemara I forgot the other Gemara that talks about the fact that even for the animals, you're not allowed to be cruel to animals. You have to be gentle to animals. There's things on Masechet Shabbat, page 40, over there. It talks about how you're allowed to manipulate a basket on Shabbat in order that the little chicks, which don't have the strength to go on the basket, should be able to go on the basket in an easy way. Here, I see that you care about the small things. I'm going to make you the leader of Am Yisrael. The whole discussion of how he becomes a leader afterwards is not for now. But the lesson we have to take, every single one of us, is that the level of Ahavat Yisrael and sensitivity we need to have is a high. If you want to be a leader in Am Yisrael, and every Jew is a leader, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. What does it mean to be a leader? What is a real tzaddik? Somebody that has that sensitivity for others. He is so sensitive. He's able so much to get out of himself. He's able to feel the needs of the other. Let me conclude with a story I read yesterday. I posted on my status because I was so touched by the story. There was a woman in Israel. She was a widow. And her son was a brilliant, brilliant mind. And he was 14, 15 years old. There were no yeshivot in Eretz Yisrael at that time. So they decided to send him to the yeshiva. He didn't have a father. They decided to send him to yeshiva in 770 Eastern Parkway by the Rebbe. On one hand, she just came out of communist Russia. She knows the value of being able to have a child that's going to go and be able to study Torah. On the other hand, she doesn't have her boy. The only boy that she has is not going to be at her side. So when the Hasidim went for the month of Tishrei as customary for the holidays of Rosh Hashanah all the way to Simchat Torah to spend it 770 with a heart, heavy heart and a happy heart, Ayin b'mar bocheh v'lev sameach, like Avraham Avinu, a tear in the eye, but a joyful heart, she sends her son to yeshiva. There was a great mashpia in Eretz Yisrael by the name of Shlomo Chaim Kesselman. Shlomo Chaim Kesselman was an Oved Hashem, a servant of God, in unbelievable ways. He taught his students how to pray, how to meditate, how to contemplate on the greatness of Hashem in incredible ways. He was a Jew of a very high stature and very dedicated to his students. When he came back from the month of Tishrei, that boy was still there. She used to work as a ticket master in the bus for the Dan bus in Eretz Yisrael. So she would be in the back of the bus receiving the tickets, so people would go in. That's what this widow would do. Suddenly, as she passes with the bus, she sees at the bus station this great Chassid, Rav Shlomo Chaim Kesselman, that we used to pray for 3-4 hours a day. He's there, looking around, and the bus is about to leave, so he just missed the bus. She's wondering, what is this great rabbi doing here in the bus station? She goes, he does all the round and everything. I think it takes like a couple of hours for the bus to do all of its rounds. When she comes back, the rabbi is still there, sitting on a bench, contemplating, studying. I don't know what he's doing. So right away, she runs to him. She says, Shlomo Chaim, was machst du? What are you doing here? What are you doing? He says, I was looking for you. I wanted to tell you, I saw your son, and he's doing great. He was just, he excelled in his studies, he excelled in his prayer and the way he was doing things. This is the sensitivity of a Jew. I could be a big rabbi, but I'm going to care because I know that this widow is worried about what's happening with her son. Nobody is there to give her news. I'm going to have the sensitivity to give her the news. When I saw this story, I will tell you that somewhat, it irked me, because I think that with the cell phone and social media, it has killed our sensitivity. It's time to lift up the phone, to call somebody, to reach out to somebody, that's not smiling, to reach out to somebody that maybe is sick, is not feeling well, and asking them, how are you doing? We haven't seen you at the synagogue. You don't seem to be going so well. I'm just going to inquire about you. I can tell you so many times when I make these calls, people say, Rabbi, why are you calling me? What? You don't know what you just did to me. That one phone call that somebody's going to think about another, that's what made Moshe Rabbeinu a leader, and that's what can make all of us a leader, and certainly bring about the ultimate leader, Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen. Have a great day. Rabbi Hanina ben Akashia Omer,